สวัสดีค่ะทุกท่านยินดีต้อนรับเข้าสู่หอศิลปะวัฒนธรรมแห่งกรุงเทพมหานครวันนี้เป็นการบรรยายในหัวข้อเรื่องภาษาของแสงโดยเอมิลี่และเออร์โก้ค่ะและเรายังมีกิจกรรมอื่นๆท่านสามารถชมได้ทาง facebook.com/bacc-page วันนี้คนโมเดเลตคือคุณศศิยาค่ะ
โอเคค่ะขอบคุณนะคะสวัสดีทุกคนนะคะสำหรับบางคนที่เคยมาเลคเชอร์ครั้งของฟอสเตอร์แล้วนี่เป็นครั้งสุดท้ายแล้วนะคะของ exhibition ครั้งนี้ก็ถือว่าเป็นโอกาสพิเศษนะคะแล้วก็รูปแบบในการที่เราจะทำเลคเชอร์วันนี้ก็คือพี่อยากให้ทุกคนมีความรู้สึกสบายๆจะเป็นแบบสบายๆนะคะแล้วก็วันนี้ผู้ร่วมบรรยายเนี่ยจะมีด้วยกัน2ท่านนะคะท่านหนึ่งก็คือจะมาจากฟอสเตอร์ก็คือคุณเอมิลี่นะคะอีกท่านหนึ่งมาจากบริษัทเออร์โก้นะคะซึ่งเป็นบริษัทเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของแสงนะคะไฟก็เป็นคุณหลุยส์นะคะซึ่งเดี๋ยวเขาจะแนะนำตัวเองทีนี้เนื่องจากเรามีคนที่เป็นต่างชาติด้วยนะคะพี่คงจะขออนุญาตในระหว่างทางว่าเลคเชอร์เนี่ยจะเป็นภาษาอังกฤษเป็นหลักนะคะถ้าใครสนใจอะไรเป็นประเด็นสำคัญนะคะพี่อยากให้เทคโน้ตเอาไว้แล้วถามอีกทีนึงก็ได้ตอนท้ายหรือในระหว่างที่พี่กำลังทำเรียกนะคะเชื่อมโยงกับบทสนทนากับพวกคุณในระหว่างนี้เนี่ยมีใครอยากจะถามอะไรเป็นพิเศษก็ได้อันนี้สำหรับคนไทยสำหรับต่างชาติเนี่ยพี่ก็อาจจะมีสวิชบ้างถ้าเราพูดไทยกันอะไรอย่างเงี้ยนะคะแต่ส่วนใหญ่เนื่องจากเลคเชอร์เป็นภาษาอังกฤษพี่ก็จะพยายามช่วยแปลในบางส่วนที่พี่คิดว่ามันเป็นประเด็นสำคัญนะคะแล้วก็เลคเชอร์วันนี้ก็น่าจะจบลงประมาณสักทุ่มครึ่งโดยประมาณแล้วก็จะมีคำถามเปิดให้ได้ถาม So for foreigner today we have a lecture I know you kind of like question that we're gonna run in Thai luckily for today we have a lecturer in speak in English so during the time I might need to do some translate okay just to make sure that our Thai audience also engage the conversation and also I would like to create a little bit about the atmosphere of what we are going to do today it will be a kind of like casual and we will be like kind of like interact if you have some kind of like a question that you really want to just integrate into the conversation please feel free okay and I think we should start now and the lecture will end around 7:30 around that and we will open for the question okay ค่ะ Emily are you ready okay
Sawadika, I'm Emily from Shanghai. Very nice to be here. Yes. I'm from Foster & Partners, and I have here with me Louis from ERCO as well. This very fine, handsome young man here.
Good evening.
So I'm going to give a talk about Foster projects and Louise will also talk about lighting. I'm an architect myself, so I will probably be giving more of an architectural perspective about Foster projects and about lighting in Foster projects. So I would like to introduce Foster & Partners. Maybe you guys already know who we are, but maybe for some people in the audience, if you have not really known this company, I'll still like to give a little brief introduction to our company. Foster & Partners is an architectural design office, and we are based in London. We have been around for God knows how long, like 47 years. We are a really established company. It was started by Lord Norman Foster, and he is still the chairman and the founder of our company and is still very alive and involved in the running of the company and the design works. So you can see on the wall, these are some of our projects and we have been doing projects all over the world. We do big projects from airports to office towers to galleries. We even design yachts and we design boats, we design tables, we design door handles. Anything that needs designing, we're interested to do. This is a very interesting picture of how the team has grew over the years and it's a very rich culture in the Foster's family. We have many people from different backgrounds, from different cultures. You have like 30 over languages being spoken at one time in the company. So it creates it's a very big family and everybody interacts a lot with each other. Right now the entire company is about 1,000 strong. This is our lovely office in London. It has a fantastic view of the Thames River and it's day-lit and it's amazing space to work in. It's open and everybody gets to interact with all the head of design. So there's no hierarchy at all. Everybody sits together and it's a very free kind of space to interact. This is where we work and where everybody eats and where everybody rests and play. We have our own model shop, so it's really a great place for designers because we get to make our own study models. And then when we are happy with it, we send it to our model makers who turn it into real beautiful design models for us. We have a lot of design reviews with our head of designs as well. And working with the architects is a lot of other specialist groups. For example, we have engineers, we have structural MEP engineers, we have urban designers, we have product designers, interior designers, model makers, and we have people who do just research. And this is really important because as a company for all these years, we have always strived to make every project a new breakthrough in technology, in environmental design. So the only way to do this is to invest a lot in research and design. This is what we do on a day-to-day basis. We have reviews all the time. We have design discussions with our head of design, David, Spencer. They've been around for the first day that the company started. So it's amazing to work with these people because they have so much knowledge with them and they are always very willing to share with all the young designers in the company. And they really like to interact with designers and engineers. It's what we call like integrate design, and this is the process that goes through every day in the head office. This is a very kind of common thing that always happens in our studio. We are still like a university, literally. We're not like an office, we're like a school. So when we do a design, we have design reviews with our head of design. We pin up stuff, we have lots of meetings room with all these magnetic walls. We pin up all our drawings, and the designs reviewed by people from a graduate or a young architect to the senior designer to Norman himself. So the interaction is very rich. So from the 1970s all the way to today, this company definitely wants to push sustainability as a very primary role in urban design, in architectural design. We're very concerned about how the building is reacting to the environment. And this is one of our primary concerns from long time ago till today. So all the projects that you see on this wall is sustainable design is the main key element. And today, as everyone is here, we are really going to talk about architecture and lighting. Lighting is very important because that's how you see the building and how you experience the building. And very lucky today we have Luis from ERCO with us. And maybe Luis would like to introduce himself a little bit to you as well.
So, good evening. My name is Luis Barahona, and I am the head of the lighting design support in Asia Pacific. At the same time, I'm the technical manager, and we have been working with a lot of architects, and we're really proud to have a long collaboration with Norman Foster as well. Thank you. I would like to introduce to you how do we approach projects in general. It doesn't matter who we are working with. It could be architects somewhere in Malaysia, but it could be as well anybody else in the world who's looking after a lighting solution. So I thought that it would be interesting to show you how we approach these projects, giving you the real, I will say, the real quality of lighting to your project. So we start with analyze the project. We sit together with the architect. We share his impressions. We would like to know what he would like to achieve. Where is he going to, what is the way he would like to show the building, and what is the spirit of the building. We create a concept design, and then we try to find a lighting solutions. If there is not a standard product, we are really happy to work with him to find a special lighting solution, because sometimes, in more than one time, we are going to have maybe a profit of it. We will get a solution. We can use it in other projects as well. So how do we analyze these projects? First of all, we are looking after what is the real lighting solution that he's looking after. And we think there are, for us at ERCO, 3 A's. We are talking about architecture. It means we analyze the architecture together with the people who are involved in the project. We look after the architectural elements, the importance of daylight, the importance of the transparency of the building. Then we say, what happens inside the building? What is going to be the right light, the amount of light do we need to put in this building to achieve a certain kind of activity? That means, you see, there is a lot of collaboration, there is a lot of interacting with the architect and with the people who are involved in the project. But last but not least, what is the mood, what is the atmosphere that you would like to see this building later on in the night? So we don't want to put something, the building, to lit the building in such a way that is going to be overlit. We just want to be always on the background. The most important thing here is the architecture. So we have, for example, if we analyze the architecture, we look after the shape of the buildings. Architectural elements like walls, like planes, vertical planes, are very important because we are going to use them to create wall washing, which is going to enhance the architecture. You're going to see here in these presentations a lot of examples of the perfect way of using lights on the walls, what we call perfect wall washing. It means vertical illuminance. We look after the proportions, how high are the spaces inside of the building, the silhouettes, the structures of the building. We look after the colors and reflections, materials. There's a lot of things which are going to influence the way light is going to be reflected in the space. And last but not least, we analyze the daylight. The most important thing that you will have here all the time is the influence of daylight. This is during the day, the people are going to feel comfortable in the space. Artificial light is going to be just supplementary. It's going to give a little bit of balance inside of the building. The most important, I would say, point that is going to create the effect of the architecture is going to be the sun. Okay, when we talk about activities, what happens inside of this building? Who is going to be most important person inside of it? How it's going to be the move of the people? If we have a museum, from where to where would I guide the people? If we have, I don't know, a hospital, how is going to be the function of the hospital inside of it? These are parts what we have to analyze to create different kind of lighting design concepts and give the support to the architecture. It's not only it's not only giving you analyzing what happens in the building, it's about communication as well. How is going to be the communication of all the different spaces in the building? And how is going to be the quality of light that you will offer to the people who are using it? In case there is different kind of possibilities to change the space, how I'm going to make it that possible? Control systems, or maybe changing different kind of lighting effects. How are we going to change the space without changing the architecture? And last but not least, we're talking about the atmosphere. What do I want to achieve? I would like to have a dramatic atmosphere in the night, something classical, something mystical, or what is the message that I would like to deliver? But at the same time, always keeping in mind that the most important thing is the idea of the architect. What is the idea that we're talking about before? And that's what we want to the people look in the night and see, oh, that's exactly what's the message of this building. We have some examples. We were very lucky to work in the Louvre. And you see here that actually, the museum in Louvre at the beginning, the beautiful architecture of Pei is showing this pyramid here. And the question is, how can we analyze, how can we emphasize this architecture? And during the night, it was very transparent. It gets lost more or less. So Pei asked us, how can we try to make this more interesting? The idea was to create a certain kind of effect in showing this very monumental architecture. And what we did, we develop a special product, which we install it on the edges of the pyramid. And on that time, with the lamp, the technology, the latest technology that we used to have, which is an incandescent lamp, QT12 lamp, after that, we were able to do it again with HIT lamps, much more modern, and today we are able to do it again with LEDs. It means that this museum, every time, is looking after the newest technology to create a certain kind of effect. But what are we looking after? It's about this, the magic glowing effect of the pyramid in the night, signalizing that the entrance of the building. And it has, of course, some, what you said, consequence, because of the light that you create inside of the pyramid, you are going to be able as well to create a certain reflection inside the building. So you can combine both effects and you can create a certain kind of atmosphere. Another example is HSBC Bank, Hong Kong, von Foster, which has been linked to us from the beginning. Our company is in the meantime 80 years old. In the 35 years ago, we bring into the market downlights, wall washers. And we were looking after the possibilities to put this kind of new lighting elements and lighting tools in the architecture. Norman Foster gives us a chance. He says to us, I have a beautiful project, but it's not in Europe, it's in Asia, it's in Hong Kong. And I would like to give you this project and develop some products, do some lighting solutions, show us how can you make the interpretation of my architecture. And we were very lucky at the same time to work with lighting designers, to work with this architect. And we're asking ourselves, okay, what are we looking after? We are looking after this, we analyze the situation. We see here a lot of transparency. We see the structures of the building during the daylight. We see how strong is the sunlight coming inside. And what will happen if it comes to the night? So the idea is to create something different, but at the same time to not lose the spirit of the building. And that's what we made it. We created, actually, we put accent lighting in specific areas. We light up the structures of the windows in such a way. We put only accent lighting in specific points, and that's it. The way we make the interpretation of architecture is very simple for us. Less is more. We don't try to light everywhere. We are not afraid to put shadows somewhere else, because we are used to, during the daylight, we are used to have shadows. We should not be afraid to have during the nightlight as well shadows. We should not put lights everywhere. This is a beautiful example how we can create effects in architecture without making it look a little bit strange. Some other projects that I would like to analyze with you. And when we're talking about lighting design, I would like to emphasize something which is very important for us. The approach from the lighting design point of view is always looking after lighting effects. And it means lighting effects, ambient lighting, it means general lighting, which are going to have lighting for specific functions. It's going to be as well a focal glow. It means you focus on in a space, something, an object that you would like to highlight. This could be as well a column. It could be architectural elements, or it could be maybe in a restaurant, a fantastic bouquet of flowers, something like that. And of course, you can change the space using a little bit of brilliance. It means these three elements are the basics that we use when you're creating concepts. We put general lighting, we put accent lighting, and then at the end we put a little bit of patterns, creating a little bit of different kind of effects. So how does it look? This could be ambient lighting. For example, just lighting the ceiling of the space. It creates a very diffuse light. The function of it is to fill the space with light. It's not specific, very diffuse light, very subtle. The atmosphere that you achieve there is very smooth. This you can make it in different ways. You can use it as well on the staircases, but you can you can change it if you use a little bit of focal glow. In this case, we have accent the objects here, the sculptures, the heads of these objects, and we try to combine with a wall washing that we have on the wall. It means it's a mix of ambient lighting and accent lighting. What you can do in the indoor area, you can do it in the outdoor area as well, because it's just changing the periphery, the parameters, and you can see here that we're able to create the same limitation, the same accents in the facades. Play of brilliance is this is an example of the Abu Dhabi mosque, Blue Mosque, where the people decided to create a certain kind of chandelier with LEDs, but in the background is our architectural lighting. It means for us it was important to fill the space with light. The most important object is in this case is of course this chandelier, which is going to glow in the space. Again, another combination of ambient lighting and focal glow. In this case, you can see the amount of light on these areas is higher than on when the people are going to walk. And you can see that there is a hierarchy of light, which is very important. You can guide people in the space with the amount of light that you put in it. It means if there is an object which is very important, you can add the amount of light, and then you can really manipulate the people moving in that direction and make the appreciation of the architecture much better as well. This is another example when we have the possibility to use wall washing. And of course, you can see here in combination of accent lighting, we tried always to balance between the objects that we were lighting and the vertical elements of the architecture. Another very nice example of the play of brilliance, where you can see that uplighting and effects of this kind of additional just as effects on the water will bring a lot of brilliance into the building. And this is a picture which, from my point of view, expresses the whole thing. You can see here that we have ambient lighting because we have a general lighting. We have accent lighting on the tables, and we have the play of brilliance with these chandeliers here. Beautiful balance. It's a place where you feel comfortable. That's what we are looking after. The visitors of these restaurants are going to feel comfortable. But what we can do in a restaurant, we can do in a retail as well. And this is another, this is a shop we had in the Middle East. And this is a Philip Stark restaurant that we had in Argentina. You can see here as well, always following the same concept, the balance between ambient lighting, accent lighting, and the play of brilliance. This is our headquarters in Germany. Here as well, you can see that here you have this combination of different patterns with colors, very nice wall washings, and accent lighting on the flowers. And that's all, very simple. You don't have to put much more light there. I think that when we're talking about quality of light, we talk about diffusers light, which it means could be very important for museums as well. And in this case, it's going to create a very plain atmosphere, very smooth. The feeling of it is going to be very calm. You attract the people into the space. You create that kind of atmosphere. It has to be as well in relation of the art that you are showing. So there is always here as well, I sit together with the people who are responsible for the exhibitions and talk and ask them, what would you like to communicate with your art? And this is going to be the light that we're going to put in the exhibition. So we have as here the possibility, you see that there is no modeling effect. It's very plain. The face is going to be not too strong, as you don't have shadows in the face. As all the visitors there look more or less the same. We try to create a certain kind of very calm atmosphere. And here's an example where you can see the same light. If it is a diffuse light, you can notice the brilliance of the food, just as a study. And if you add a little bit of light, you will see it here. Yes. you can create a certain kind of brilliance into the space. Okay. So we are talking about direct lighting as well. And in this case, what we're looking after is what we call the focal glow and modeling. When we are doing accent lighting, we are looking after shadows. And it means we create a certain dramatic in the objects. What we try to do here is as well to create the elements, the materials of it has to be more in the front of it. So we're looking after, we sit together with the people who are responsible as well of the exhibitions. We ask them, okay, what are going to be the materials that you have there? If it is very specular or very matte, how we're going to approach? We have different kind of beam angles, and we're going to make the selection of the beam angles to create these kind of effects. So we have as well, talking about the light qualities, we can hear something, direct lighting that's going to give us a very strong shadows in the, and that will create, for example, if you look at here, the structure of the walls, we're going to make it much more stronger. So we can emphasize the materials and we can make it some effects as well. You see here, this is when you have only one spot, how strong you can make it, the quality of the modeling. Another point that you have to look here is after the color rendition. It means if you select the right color temperature of the lamp, you're going to be able to see the perfect yellow, the perfect red. And when you're working with these kind of beam angles, you have to look after the right one. It means you analyze which is going to be, it could be 4,000 Kelvin, 3,000 Kelvin, or what we call warm color temperature or cool color temperature to achieve a certain kind of effect. And let's talk about a little bit of the importance of the horizontal illuminance. And horizontal illuminance is going to give us the balance that we need to recognize the space. Very important here to be able to create a boundary. And when we are in that point, you know, when you come into the space, you never look into the floor. You always look onto the walls. 80% of the perception of the space is going to be through the vertical plane. That's the reason for us, we have a lot of lighting tools which are going to help us to enhance the walls, different kind of lighting tools which are going to create different kind of effects for different kind of architectures. Now I leave you with Emily. She's going to talk about some fosters and projects.
Just before we go to Emily, I just want to have some conclusion. Can you go back to your last slide?
Yeah.
From all the techniques that you share about the light that can be a kind of like a conversation, like really a conversation to communicate the design of the architect, communicate the activities within the building, even to emphasize like a kind of like an art by itself. So I think this is like something that you want to share the knowledge after this when Emily showed the work of the Foster project and how the lighting will enhance all that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely we
so
can
let
do
me
that.
speak in Thai as well ก็เพื่อจะให้มั่นใจนะคะว่าพวกเราได้ข้อมูลได้สิ่งที่เมื่อกี้คุณหลุยส์ได้นำเสนอนะคะประเด็นก็คือมันก็คงมีเรื่องของเทคนิคซึ่งปิ๊กเชื่อว่าหลายๆท่านที่นี่ก็อาจจะเป็นอาร์คิเทคอยู่แล้วแล้วก็เป็นคนที่อยู่ในวงการนะคะแต่สำหรับน้องๆที่เป็นนักศึกษาที่นี่เนี่ยก็คือสิ่งหนึ่งที่เมื่อกี้ในฐานะโมเดเลเตอร์เนี่ยเราได้เห็นก็คือว่าแสงไม่ใช่แค่เรื่องของการส่องสว่างแต่แสงเป็นเรื่องของการที่สามารถเป็นเครื่องมือในการสื่อสารแม้กระทั่งสื่อสารงานดีไซน์สื่อสารกิจกรรมที่เกิดขึ้นในตึกนะคะรวมไปถึงการให้ความสำคัญกับอ็อบเจกต์หรือว่างานอาร์ตหรือแม้กระทั่งตัวมันเองเนี่ยก็สามารถเป็นตัวที่ส่งเสริมนะคะให้พื้นที่บางพื้นที่เนี่ยกลายเป็นนอกเหนือจากความส่องสว่างแล้วเป็นความสวยงามแล้วก็เป็นเหมือนกับเป็นเอ็กซิบิทด้วยตัวมันเองนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นถ้าสำหรับท่านที่อยู่ในเรื่องของการดีไซน์หรืออะไรก็ตามนับจากตรงนี้ไปที่เดี๋ยวคุณเอมิลี่จะนำเสนอเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของ Foster Project นะคะเราก็จะมีการพูดคุยกันว่าแล้วไอ้แสงที่เออร์โก้ทำงานนะคะหรือมุมมองของผู้เชี่ยวชาญจากเออร์โก้ในเรื่องของแสงเนี่ยมันส่ง เสริมยังไงกับงานอาร์เคเต็กแล้วมันส่งเสริมยังไงหรือมันให้คุณค่ายังไงกับพวกเราในฐานะเป็นผู้ใช้นะคะก็คือผู้บริโภคเองที่อยู่ในตึกหรืออยู่ในอาคารนะคะโอเค please Emily
Thank you.
it's your turn
So I'd like to introduce some Foster and Partners projects, which we look at most primary daylighting. For us, daylighting is a really important feature in our design. Why we want to talk about daylighting, of course, is because from a very sustainable point of view, daylight is free, is there for you to use, and we always take into consideration how to integrate daylighting into our buildings, how to naturally lit a building with this abundant daylight. So this project that I'm going to talk about first is Stansted Airport. Stansted Airport is the very, very first airport that Foster and Partners reinvented the typology of an airport terminal. The idea of an airport terminal to start with is long ago, before the kind of airports that you see nowadays. In the past, what were airports like? Airports were really simple structures. You drive a car, you come by your car, you get off your car, you walk into this building, and on the other side is your plane waiting for you to take off. It's a very straightforward kind of experience in the past. Nowadays, airports have become so complicated, and what we really want to do is to be able to bring back this simpleness, this clarity in traveling, in going through a terminal airport. So how do we want to do this? First of all, we had this idea that the entire building should be turned around, turned upside down. What it means is that instead of all these heavy mechanical systems that usually cover the roof of a building, we want to put all this underground, underside, under the floor, so that what it does is it basically releases it allows the roof of the building to be completely free of mechanical systems. And what you see in Stansted Airport is we created these structural trees, as you can see, like structures. They basically come out of the ground, and it actually allows the mechanical systems to feed the space from the tree trunks of these structural trees. And the structure actually just supports a beautiful roof canopy, and all the roof canopy has to do is to shelter the people from rain and allow maximum daylight to filter into this entire space. So what you get is this amazing daylit space that changes with the day. The light intensity changes from day to night. And people, when they come into this building, they immediately get a very clear sense of where they are supposed to go. It's just, to go from point A to point B is all very clear. And you can see in this photograph, with the help of daylight from the roof, from the edges of the building, the clarity is amazing, unlike old airport buildings. And because of this invention many years ago, what you see actually nowadays in airport design terminal, the typology was invented by Foster's. We invented this new system to approach daylighting in terminal buildings. And this is very sustainable because it actually reduces the energy consumption, the running costs of an airport. In comparison, at that time, another airport in Britain would have been double the cost to run the building. So by doing these very simple moves, you actually create a very energy efficient building with amazing light quality. So this is like a detail of what we were thinking when we were doing the light feature. It allows daylight to come in, but we filter it with a mesh so that it's more kind of indirect daylighting, more diffuse, so that it's just a bit more comfortable in the space. And at night, we want to create the same atmosphere. So in the day, you remember this amazing glowing ceiling, and what we want to do in the evening is to recreate that effect. This is something that Foster's always aim to do. We want to create the same atmosphere as what Louise said before, that is a very important element in your experience of a building. We want to create this atmosphere even at night, and what we do is simply to create these uplights from the tree trunks of these structures, and the light bounces off this canopy, and it creates this very natural diffuse lighting like it was in the day. That's the kind of feeling we want to get. So from afar, at night, this building just glows, and it's an amazing space. You know, you can see it from afar, and it's just very simple technique. After we did the Stansted Airport, this is Hong Kong Airport, Chap Lak Kok Airport. It's actually the same kind of idea because it's such a simple, successful typology. We've also run this idea into the Hong Kong Airport. It's also vast canopy, day-lit, and allows maximum clarity for travelers from the door to the plane. You know, you can see your aeroplane from the entrance. This is the whole point of having clear, naturally lit design. So the next project I'd like to talk about is HSBC, the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank in Hong Kong. This project is built in 1986. It's a very long ago project, but it actually was an amazing building because the client was amazing. The client just gave us a really simple brief. He just said, build me the best bank building that you can build for me. And at that point, he had a very unique requirement. He needed to build the building in a very, very short time as well. So because of that, that's why HSBC has this very unique hanging truss system. And what this entire structural system actually do for the building is that it allows the lift cores, the solid bits of the buildings, to be pushed to the edges of the building itself. And because of that, we were able to completely free up this central space. This 10-story high atrium space is completely free of structure and cores, and it allows the daylight to filter in to light the office spaces from either side. And there's a very special feature in this building. It's called the light scoop. What it does is that it's actually a mirror. The mirror is fixed on the outside of the building, and what it does is it literally reflects daylight into the center of the building. And it allows the daylight to come in. And there's mirrors at the top of this atrium, which basically reflects the light right down into the atrium space. And the light even gets to the ground floor lobby. And this ground floor lobby, if you go to Hong Kong now, is a great public space. People have picnics there because it's completely daylit. People feel like they're still outdoors under the sun. So this building actually was trying to create this kind of effect. And there's also a very special feature, and Louis could share a bit of his experience when we were designing this with Claude Engel, and Urkel helped us to make this happen.
Yes, we had a great collaboration on that time, and as I said before, it was our first project in Asia, and it means that actually we built a model one-to-one in Lüdenscheid in Germany, and then we transported it to Hong Kong. It is very special because it has different kind of, it's like a different kind of lighting effects. It means it gives general lighting to the room. And then because the people who are going to sit there, they should be able to read as well the documents. You will see that we have some spots there, here integrated, which are going to lead this area here, so that the people are going to be able to read the documents during the sessions that we have, the meetings that we have. In the meantime, we had already some talks with Foster about how can we use maybe a new kind of technology. On that time, 35 years ago, this was the latest technology that we had. But now, of course, we can do more or less the same with LEDs, and we can consume maybe 1/10 or less than that energy that we're consuming at this moment with this kind of chandelier. But of course, it's I would say it's a symbol, and it's always a decision of the management later on if they are going to change this or not, because you can see here that it fits into the space, and new technology as well means that some of the elements are going to change. So there are some people who are would like to change, but there are some people who says no, let's keep it like it is, and anyway we are not consuming so much energy. It's just for a couple of sessions or meetings, that's all. But let's see what happens later on.
So after HSBC, we continued our ideas of sustainable, environmental friendly skyscraper and towers. This project is in Germany, in Frankfurt. It's the Commerzbank headquarters. This was the first ecological tower in Europe. And when we designed this building, the key idea was to create a new type of working environment for the occupants. And what we wanted to do was to allow the workspace to have maximum daylight. So we actually challenged the entire idea of the configuration of an office building. So what you see on the left is a very typical square block office tower with the core in the middle and office spaces surrounding the edges of the core. But what we thought would be a much better design was to push the solid cores right to the edges of the building, to the corners of the building. That is why the Frankfurt building has this very unique triangulated shape. And what it then does is that it creates this space in the middle, and you get this atrium. This atrium space is full height. It's a completely like a chimney space. What it does is it allows the entire tower to breathe. There's natural ventilation. And amongst this entire tower, we actually put in these winter gardens. The winter gardens are placed around the building. It rotates around the building. And what it does is, over here, you get like a winter garden, and these are the office spaces. And what it does is it actually draws in daylight deep into the plan of the building. Okay, sorry. So what you see here is this winter garden space, and what it does is it's a 5-story tall atrium space. It actually allows daylight to infiltrate deep into the center of the building. So all the offices along the edges actually gets daylight. And this is a view from inside an office. It actually gives the occupants maximum control of their environment. They can open their windows, they can draw their blinds, and they can have natural daylight, or they can have natural ventilation even into their office spaces. So after we invented this idea of an ecological tower, we brought this idea into China, into Shanghai. This was the first project that Foster's did in China. And this building is now already like 10, 12 years old. But if you look at it right now, it's still very modern. What it does is mainly it plays with the same idea of these atrium spaces. So in the entire tower, there are 3 parts to it. So there are 3 actually sky winter gardens as well. And these spaces, like the Commerzbank, they allow daylight again to come into the building. And these daylit spaces can become communal areas. When we designed this building, we wanted this space to be, conference areas for the tenants. They could be meeting areas, or they could be breakout spaces. And one amazing space in this building is right at the top of the tower. It's a completely daylit office area. And in China at that point, it was a very rare type of environment because most of the towers were very traditional. They would usually put all these MEP cooling towers, air conditioning equipments. They usually fill up the top of a tower. So it was amazing for us to propose to our client this completely open daylit space. So if you were to work in one of these spaces here, you would feel that you're actually like sitting outside in the outdoor space, working in a garden, basically.
Emily, I just want to add on here a little bit. From the perspective of developer, which is we kind of like give the space for a garden and open area, and it seems like in terms of the invest, in terms of the cost of construction, and also the satisfaction of the tenants or people that work there. Can you share us that the result of Forster come up with this kind of design? What is the added value by like giving the space like that? Like this to the building.
I mean, you definitely get added value of a much much better working environment. I mean, a lot of times when we are in our offices, is always under artificial lighting. You don't get a sense of the day passing by. And when you have the opportunity to work in a space like that, it's amazing. You don't need a clock to tell you, it's time to go home. It naturally goes dark, and it's the end of the day. It makes the environment much more alive, and also daylight is always cost saving. Is a natural energy saver. You don't need to turn on the switch. And for our client, I think they really are very happy with the space that they have, because after 10 years, our office in Shanghai is right in this building right now. I mean, we're not lucky enough to have this space up there, but we've been up there. 10 years later, our client still maintains it exactly like this. It looks exactly like this. They've never changed anything. And the client still tells us that, this is one of their favorite spaces.
Okay.
When they have visitors, when they have people coming to see the building, they'll bring them up here, and people are still amazed, that there is such an office space in Shanghai. And sometimes I think we as architects, we forget, even Foster, sometimes we've created this 10 years ago. And sometimes clients can be, they can be very commercial. They may not want these spaces. They may not be the best area achievers, in our line. But if you think back, when you create such a space and people enjoy it, it will last for generations, and we need to try to push more of this as much as we can.
Yeah, so in that elaborate for the sustainable design is also add up the value of the building, or even let's say the commercial size, that maybe the tenants will be last long and they want to continue, and even the value of the space rental, it would be getting high.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, this building after 10 years is still, people are surprised that it's 10 years old, because it doesn't feel like it's a 10 years old building, because it's got ideas in there that are still relevant to our current working environment. So this building definitely has a lot of added value, and when people come into this building, they want to rent a space that is where the atrium spaces are, because that's where you get more light into your offices. Yeah.
ก็อยากจะทิ้งเอาไว้อินสปายสำหรับพวกเรานะเป็นที่รู้กันว่าสำหรับประเทศไทยใช่ไหมคะเราก็อยู่แบบในกล่องสี่เหลี่ยมใส่แอร์เข้าไปเมื่อกี้ที่เอมิลี่พูดใช่ไหมคะแต่ว่าถ้าเกิดเราได้มองเห็นอีกด้านหนึ่งที่เป็นด้านต่างไปนะคะคือการให้พื้นที่ที่มีสีเขียวให้แสงส่องสว่างได้เนี่ยในเชิงของการลงทุนก็เป็นความเสี่ยงเหมือนกันแต่ถ้าเรามองใน long term เนี่ยอันนี้เป็น added value ซึ่งเราสามารถจะให้คุณค่ากับทั้งผู้ที่เช่าอยู่อาศัยแล้วก็ราคาของพื้นที่ที่เราจะเช่าด้วยนะคะก็ please.
So a little bit about the lighting at night of this building. Louise, do you want to? We actually work with a very long-term lighting partner called Claude Angle. He's an amazing person, Claude Angle. I mean, the father and the son. The son is now the main designer, and I think as a lighting designer, they were completely in tune with the architects. They do not try to they do not try to overlight a building. Many times as architects nowadays, especially I'm working in Shanghai now, lighting is just absolutely mad in Shanghai. People just overlight buildings, there's strobing lights everywhere on the outside of every single tower in Shanghai. But when we did this lighting design with Claude, he just said that, this is the building that Foster's designed. What do you want to express? If you want to express your atrium spaces, I'll light your atrium spaces. I'll express what you want to express. And he didn't put any lighting on the outside. He said, well, it's an office building. The office light will do the work at night. It will glow naturally. So we really agreed with this kind of lighting philosophy, that lighting should be minimum. You don't need to overlight any building. And Louis,
I agree with you.
If you have the same experience.
Yeah, the same. The approach that we have as well when we collaborate and work with architects is exactly the same. For us, less is more. We are not afraid to create shadows. We are not afraid of really look after the architectural elements and show them. It does not mean that you fill the space with light. That's very important. Here again, we are not going to put light everywhere. We're going to put light only where we need it. And this is maybe the approach that we have with the lighting designers, with the long collaboration of lighting designers, and actually the interpretation of the light that architects would like to have in the buildings.
Emily, I think you maybe want to talk a bit about, you said that this is a light bulb. I think that you're going to talk about this building. Like a light bulb that you open the top for the daylight. Is that what you're going to talk about? Another one.
This is another one.
Okay,
Another one.
sorry.
Yeah, we'll get to there. This little project is in England, in Cambridge. It's the law faculty for the Cambridge University. It's a very simple building, and again in this project, what Foster's was trying to do was we wanted to design a new extension to the law faculty in the Cambridge entire campus, and what the Cambridge campus has is amazing landscape. They have amazing trees and lawns and natural environment. We wanted a building that had the least impact to this beautiful landscape, and we wanted the building to also react with the landscape itself. And what we invented here was that we wanted to create a building that allows daylight to again come into the space. The main function here is a library, it's a law library, and what the library really needs is very good daylighting for their students to study and to enjoy and to do their readings. So the space that we created basically on the north face of the building, because in England the sun comes on the south direction, so it's possible to create an entirely glazed roof that allows daylight to come in. And when you're in this space, you basically, you know, when you're studying and when you're sitting, you get this full view of the beautiful green landscape beyond, and yet you get all this amazing daylight that comes in.
Maybe one point here. You can see that although we have a lot of daylight coming from the right side, the downlights are on. The reason is very simple. We need to balance. Otherwise, our eyes are going to be very tired trying to balance about the immense amount of light that you have from the day and the darkness that is inside the building. So the additional light, downlights there, is just to balance and to bring a certain kind of uniformity in the space, so that your eyes as well not going to get very tired. That's the reason.
So even though at the decks there are also a light specifically, but that is necessary to have.
Yes, you will need. Otherwise, it will be too dark, and your eyes is a perfect machine that are always working, trying to balance between too much light and less light, and this makes you after a certain kind of time tired. That's the main reason.
Luis, can you tell me that all of this is also you've been like the light company as well, and as well as a designer, you have to also do kind of like a research of that.
Oh, yes. We
to
have
come up with that,
we
not
have
just
Well, we work with designers, with interior designers, with architects, with lighting designers. We do mock-ups. We especially in this case with Norman Foster, he loves models. You see him outside. So sometimes we do really models where we can be able to install lighting to see the effects of the light. So there's a lot of research behind that. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, the law faculty themselves, they wanted this new building as well to be a energy efficient showcase. So they were very happy for a major part of the building to be day lit, because this really helped the entire building to lower their energy consumption as well. So at night, this is to show how the downlights are actually hidden in this alcove, and it creates the same kind of lighting zoning as the day lighting itself. And this is something, again, that we always want to be quite constant in the day and night atmosphere. And this is the bookshelves. This area is further into the building. And what is very special is that the entire geometry of this, how we arrange the books, they actually are spaced at 1.95, which is actually our structural kind of dimensions. And then what we wanted to do was to create a very even illumination to the bookshelves, because here you do need quite much higher lighting levels. So when we worked with Claude and when we worked with Urco, they recommended that we use these uplights. They're called Avalon, if I'm right. And they actually help to do indirect lighting, and that really makes this entire space, you can see from this photograph already that it's a very even illumination, but at the same time it also has a certain amount of down lighting for task lighting. And in this public lobby within the building, we wanted the nighttime to feel again like, you know, the ceiling was like a day-lit ceiling. So again, a lot of this uplighting was used, and you can see this entire effect is this lighted surface above you. So this next project is in Berlin, in Germany. This is the Reichstag. It is the home of the German Bundestag. And this project is very symbolic. During the war, the entire building was completely destroyed during the war, and the old cupola was completely bombed out. And when we were commissioned to do the project, we designed a new cupola for the Reichstag building. As you can see, the circular dome shape. And what it is now is really a symbol of democracy for the German Bundestag. It's transparency. And what it does is it allows the public to come into this building, and there are actually circular ramps that go around this entire dome that brings you to an observation deck at the top. What it does is it's also symbolic that the public is able to walk and observe the members of parliament that are in the chambers below. So it's kind of a democracy symbolism. But what is very interesting in this space that I really want to talk about is this light sculpture that we created in the middle of this cupola. This entire thing has natural ventilation and also natural lighting story behind it. What these lighting sculptures actually do is they direct light, they actually reflect the light into the space below. Yeah. So what you can see at the top is where the lighting sculpture is in the dome, and it reflects a tremendous amount of daylight into the plenary chamber where the parliaments are held. And Louis will talk a little bit about the artificial lighting because it's also very special when we designed this with Claude.
So one of the challenges here was that the parliaments should be broadcasted all the time. So it means you need a high quality and very good modeling of the faces. So the one position that we selected is, and actually we develop a luminaire in this case. You see that in the upper part, these luminaires here, which are going to be lighting all the faces of the members of parliament, so that everybody during our transmission of broadcasting is going to be very, very clean, very visible, and the perfect modeling as well. Very interesting here. After that, this luminaire became, which was a special product, became a standard and is part of the program of ERCO. So this is very close. Sometimes we get some solutions that we have in one project, we can use later on in other projects, and it becomes a standard in our catalog.
Luis, it's just something coming up in my head right now, like because this is so exposed to the daylight, and yes. What if suppose that is turned like just rain or dark from outside? How the artificial light working in this case? Like that is kind of like technical that
no, in
the light will.
Well, the luminaires that you see there, these are not dimmable. These are metal halide lamps. It means they will turn on in the morning and switch off on the night after that. So there is no dimming or things like that. There is no sensor that is going to, on that time, because you need a certain kind of amount of light, and this is only possible with this kind of lamp on that time.
Or at that time.
Today we will do it completely different. The approach that we have today with LEDs is another thing. But on that time, that was the latest technology.
Yeah.
So it always has to do with the time where the project was developed as well.
Okay. มีใครอยากถามอะไรหรือเปล่าคะมาถึงตรงนี้มีใครอยากจะมีไหมคะไม่มีแล้ว
One interesting thing I was emphasizing at the beginning that it's important for us to make vertical illuminance. It means to be able to see a wall and to have the reflection of the walls. And in this case, this building is a very historical building, and after the war, a lot of Russian soldiers wrote on the walls some, like graffitis on that time. And there was a discussion, what should we do with it? And the architect, Norman Foster, says, this is part of the history, and we have to show it. We don't have to hide it. It's part it's part of the history of the German parliament, the German democracy. So we decided to install some wall washers. You can see here wall washers which are going to lit that walls, looking at make it much more clear and visible for everybody, all these small graffitis that we have there.
So in this case, your light design is to emphasize to make this part as art itself and exhibit.
Yes, additional to the function of making vertical illuminance and making the space look much more brighter. In this case, is filling the function as well of information, looking after. It's part of art. It's a mix of art and architecture.
Good.
Yeah.
And then at night, when everything is dark, the actual dome again it has this light ray that actually emits out of this dome. Again, is very symbolic. It's trying to say that look, there's democracy here. Very symbolic meaning to this. So after the Reichstag, we went on to design the City Hall for the London administration. So this building is actually where the mayor's offices are, the London mayor's offices are. It's got very, very similar ideas to the Reichstag. Again, what was important to the London mayor's office was that, they wanted a building that was a government building, but as yet it was a very public building. It allows the public to come in, and it also allows the public to observe the entire parliament and meeting process of the London mayors. But why this building has such a unique shape is because it's all to do with environmental design as well. The entire building is angled in such a way that towards the south, it points. So south is over here. So it's angled at the south face so that it allows self-shading of the building. And then on the north face, where you don't get direct sunlight, it opens up this entire glass face that allows daylight to come into the atrium spaces. And right at the bottom is where you get the plenary meetings. And over here is where people can travel and go up the building and at the same time observe what is going on down here, and also have a fantastic view of the river Thames. So this is the spiraling ramp that goes through this entire atrium space. And what we wanted to do with the lighting as well was to emphasize this ramp and also the spaces that it hovers over. And at the back of this entire ramp is this fantastic yellow colored wall. And we worked with cloth, and we also worked with Urkel fittings to enhance this wall.
So what you have done here is the approach is creating a grazing effect. To do vertical illuminance, you can do it in different ways. You can use, for example, like you see it on the right side, a simple downlight, but at the same time you will have scallops on the walls. It means you have to be conscious that this kind of effect you will have it. You don't have to be aware of afraid to make that, but you have to be conscious that this will be the effect that you have on the wall. Or you can make a perfect wall washing like this one, from the top of the wall to the bottom. So there are different approaches, and it always represents what is going to be the effect that you would like to show. For us, it's always we ask, what do you want to show how would you like to show your architecture? Because there are different ways. So the same wall could look different if we light in another way. So we are always collaborating, we are always asking, what is the effect? And you see here different effects that you have.
คืออยากจะภาษาไทยนิดนึงค่ะว่าสิ่งที่หลุยบอกก็คือว่าจริงๆในเทคนิคเดิมเนี่ยนะคะแต่ว่ามันอยู่ที่ว่าในเชิงของงานสถาปัตย์ต้องการจะสะท้อนอะไรนะคะแล้วก็ไอ้เทคนิคเดิมเนี่ยแหละค่ะมันสามารถสะท้อนได้หลายรูปแบบทั้งในแบบที่จะเป็นเรียบง่ายก็ได้หรือให้เห็นแสงเงาซึ่งให้อารมณ์ต่างกันนะคะอันนี้คือสิ่งที่หลุยเพิ่มเติมค่ะ
So this is the effect of the building at night, that what you saw just now as the yellow illuminated wall comes out very strongly as from the outside, that it actually focuses the attention on the main space of this building with the spiraling ramp. And then at night there's also the highlights of the layers of this building with the lighting, with the horizontal lighting elements. So this is another project in London. This is the British Museum. This project is also about how we renovated a old building. In the past, this British Museum, it used to be, this central space was a completely what they call a lost space in London. Nobody actually knew this space existed. Because what happened in the past was it used to be, when the building was built, this entire court was supposed to be a huge garden. It was an open space, but then eventually they decided to build a great reading room in this space. And then over many years, the reading room had to expand, and it eventually ate up all the space around it. And this whole courtyard space was completely lost. It was all filled up with buildings, basically. But many years back, there was an opportunity that they moved this reading room away from the British Museum. So when that happened, we found the opportunity to find back this lost space. So the first thing that we did was we kept the old reading room, the one in the middle. But what we did was we completely demolished all the surrounding buildings to return this courtyard space to the British Museum. And what you get now is this amazing public space, because this great court has now become the forecourt of the British Museum. People who come to visit the museum will come straight into this space. And in this space, what we've done is we've created this very high-tech kind of roof that actually had to span between the reading room and the surrounding old buildings. The geometry was very complex, but what it was meant to do was to create a very lightweight roof that allowed maximum daylight to come into the Great Court. So what you get is you get this amazing internal courtyard, but completely daylit as well. And again, this project was in collaboration with Claude Engel. And when he thought about the lighting of this space, it was very important that he wanted to have the lighting of the ground plane, which was the main courtyard space. But it was also very important to have lighting of the surrounding facades, because that's where the history is. So his strategy was to have a ring of light that basically goes around the top of the reading room, and every single fitting is a custom-made fitting with like ambience lighting and also direct lighting. And when he did the reading room, the internal renovation, it was very simple. It was really just uplighting to express the dome shape of this reading room and this magnificent, huge, grand space. And Louis will talk a little bit about this very special lighting here too.
This is a picture that I like to show to when we're talking about architectural lighting, because if you can notice, you can recognize the space. You're able to see the walls. You can able to see the parameters, the edges of this space. But very funny, you will see that in the floor we have a lot of dark patches. It means we are not using a single downlight. Everything is pure wall washing. And at the same time, with wall washing, you're able to save energy as well, because you don't consume so much energy putting everything, the light on the horizontal plane. You're just focusing on the vertical planes. And the effect is fantastic, because it makes the space looks much more brighter. Yeah, this beautiful high, I don't know, maybe 8 meters, 10 meters high, is visible, it doesn't get lost, and enhance the architecture as well. So this is a picture where we really like to see how important it is to make wall washing. This is the most important element of architectural lighting.
And from the architectural point of view, it was really important, because right now what you don't see is you're actually in the underground space, you're underground dome. But what the wall washing does is it actually highlights this curved wall, and it allows the visitors to remember that this curved round wall came from the reading room above. Yeah. So this whole lighting was in a way enhancing the message of this form of the building as well, from above to underside, and it helps to do this, creates this continuity of the form. You know, subconsciously you remember the shape and the highlights. So at night is an amazing, you know, it's a landmark now. You know, it really, this whole space is lit from underneath, and it just glows through this glass roof, and it actually signifies, you know, we found this lost space in London, and now the British Court is actually one of the most important civic public spaces in London itself. So we've come to another project in Spain. This is a winery, and I think both me and Luis feel that this is our favorite project when it comes to integration of architecture, lighting, fosters philosophy of sustainability, design, and this is also in collaboration with Claude. So from this photograph, you can already sense what we wanted to do. It's the only winery that Foster ever designed. It was the first winery that we were asked to do. We were very excited when we got this brief. The first thing that we thought, we wanted a building that actually expresses the making of wine. So what is making of wine? If you look at the building, I think you can almost guess, why is it this trifoil pattern? Very simple, very Foster way of doing buildings. Very functional, but very clear diagram. It's about the 3 stages of winemaking. So when you make wine, you need to go through the first process of fermentation. So this wing over here is the fermentation wing. So all the grapes that, you see this building is right in the middle of a vineyard. So all the grapes are collected, and these trucks drive up the building, and they go up the roof of the building, and they dump all the grapes into the middle part of the building. And with just gravity, the grapes are actually distributed to the different parts of this building for the making of the wine. So you get the first stage of making wine, which is called the fermentation stage. And then the second stage is where you need to allow the wine to age in oak barrels. And then the third stage is where you need to allow the wine to mature in their bottles. So this is the center bit. This is kind of like the control center of this entire building. It's right in the middle, is where the collection tanks are for the grapes. And when we looked at this entire building, and when we talked to the lighting designer, Claude, we asked him, how should we light this winery? It was a very interesting process, because for Claude, he wanted to also express the process of making wine through his lighting. So what he did was he actually went to speak to the winemakers. He went to understand the whole process to start with. And what you see here is actually the fermentation wing. So the fermentation wing is the only part of the building that is exposed to external, because during fermentation you get carbon dioxide, and it needs to be naturally vented away. When Claude spoke to the winemakers told him that when you make wine, the wine goes to sleep. And he felt that, oh, that's a really interesting idea. So he thought, okay, if the wine is sleeping, then I don't want to have a lot of light, because the light's going to wake the wine up, symbolically. So he actually thought about lighting just the readings of the tanks, the sprouts of where you're testing the wine. So he only did accent lighting in very specific areas, and this created this amazing kind of mood. And actually, with practice, the winemakers also said, yeah, that's all they need. They don't need more lighting. And then when you move into the second stage, this is where the wines are being put into oak barrels. And I think this is a really atmospheric space. This is literally where the wine really, really sleeps. And I think what we wanted to do here was Claude wanted to create ambient lighting of downlights that created this kind of warm glow to the barrels. But most of the time, when the wine is sleeping, this is what it is. And we actually made use of this abundant daylight from outside as well. So what you see in the edge here, over here, they are actually daylight that has been filtered by these wine red colored glass to create this kind of rich reddish reservoir glow in this room. And I think Louis is for us is a very emotional kind of effect, and this is where lighting comes in. It really brings in the ambience. It really brings in the mood of a building. You want to add anything, Louis?
Yeah, we are very. I mean, to work with Claude Engel and at the same time supporting architects like Foster is quite interesting, because at the end, what we want to is, to emphasize the activity that happens inside of the building. And light, we as a lighting company, we are just the supporters. It means the ideas, everything is coming from the architect and from the lighting designers. We just give them the tools and we make some suggestions how they can make it. Nothing more. At the end, the responsibility of these beautiful effects is all on hands of both of them. The projects are their baby. It's not, we just are on the background. Like I said, we just make light, not luminous. We just try to help them with certain kind of lighting tools, nothing more. And you see the effect is fascinating. The magic of this space in combination of the architecture and the lighting is fascinating. It's really, I think it's one of the best projects that I ever seen before.
And for me, as a visitor point of view, I think this is like the light and the architect going hands in hands to tell the story, especially for
yes,
like if I can imagine. I didn't know this place before, but this will be one of my my next holiday that I would like to really experience, because this is what the experience that not to enjoy, not only to enjoy the wine tasting and what is all about the wine, but the light is already tell the story, and and by itself it look like really an art.
Yes.
So for me as a visitor, it's just like triple, double, beyond than what I can expect. This is a really gorgeous one of the projects.
It's all about, when Claude did this design, he wanted to use the lighting to draw people into the spaces, and that they physically experience the making of wine in a kind of like a very environmental kind of experience. That was what he was trying to do with us on this project.
Good.
So the hints of red would also kind of like, from the outside, how you perceive this building is, something's brewing inside this building. This red color, you just know there's something going on, and that's the kind of drama we want to create with very simple techniques.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the material of that?
Cotton steel.
Oh,
yes,
it's
it's steel. We wanted to use a very natural material that will age with time. So this is cotton steel, so it will just rust, but the color, we chose this color because it really fitted very well with this Spanish landscape. Yes. This richness in the redness, the richness in the sun, and the, it was something that we wanted the building to sink into the landscape, basically. And half of the building is actually buried into the ground, because the three stages of the winemaking, the aging and the maturation, you actually need quite cool environments, and these two wings are actually half dug into the landscape of the winery. Yeah.
So it is not just only like a design, but it's also functional and very practical.
Yes. This is a completely functional building. Yeah, right. It's the form-following function, a very classic case here, but I think very, very sensitively and very sensually expressed. Yeah.
Good.
So this is where all the wine, this bodega's wine, is being bottled, and this is just a showcase of all the bottles. Every single round thing that you see in this wall is a wall of wine. And what we did with the lighting was that, we really wanted to create this kind of drama of highlighting these columns of wine that has got this cathedral effect almost, it's like a church of wine. That was the kind of atmosphere you want to create. And over here is where it's in the middle of the building. It's kind of like a central space where visitors come to taste the wine. But at the same time, it's not just about tasting the wine. They are literally immersed, because through the glass windows, they can see all the processes, the three wings. They can see the barrels aging. They can see the grapes fermenting. So it's really for them to completely experience the entire process of winemaking.
I like to support. I have a question for Luis. In terms of the lighting, because of why is something like, is it emotional as well? No, not emotional. Let's put it that way. That is that light also work in terms of inducing the buying or the taste or everything?
Yes.
In this case?
Yes.
And how it works?
Definitely. You see that we are very visual persons. It means the space when you enter the space, one thing that you will notice is the sparkling of the glasses. It means if you're going to use a light which is very diffuse, you will not get the sparkling. So you need to put it all in together. It has to be one unit. So the sparkling of the glasses, the amount of light. In this case, we have narrow spots which are going to lit the whole table. The amount of light that we have on the table is much more than the surroundings. It's already creating a hierarchy. So it's already making a presentation of what is expecting to you, and you want to be part of it. That's what we want to achieve here.
Good.
It's also really
So just a
important
joke,
to see the
just make a
color
joke
of
that-
the color of the wine as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say, and then I can sell a little premium price because of that. That's the marketing part. Okay, please.
So yeah, and again, this is some of the interior spaces. This is the kind of like the entrance lobby where you get all these very soft glowing glass walls, and this is the restaurant that we have in the building.
Wow,
Is there
nice.
any special lighting here?
No, this is just we have the wall washers on the paintings, and of course accent lighting on the tables.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then over here is a very interesting little feature wall because it's all made out of recycled oak barrels. So all these pieces that you see here, they are actually cut out of the used oak barrels and created into a feature wall. So these feature walls are put all around the building as well. And of course, it's being brilliantly lit as well. This is one of the nicest space in this building. It's a restaurant right at the top, and what it allows you to have this fantastic view of the winery itself. And in the day, it's amazingly daylit, and at night, it's just it's very simple, glowing space. So this is another small project in Spain. It's a little project which is from Repsol. Repsol is like an oil company in Spain, and what they wanted to do was for Foster's to help them redesign and upgrade all their gas stations. So this is a very functional type of thing, but very often people don't put much thought into such designs. They're awful structures. And what Repsol wanted to do was they wanted to make their gas stations a very unique and very vivid symbol of their brand. And what you see as the colors, the red, the orange, and the yellows, these come from the logos of Repsol oil. And the entire system is modular because Repsol wanted to roll out these projects, like 200 stations across the entire Spain. So we had to think of a modular system, which is these pyramids, inverted pyramid structures. They come as individual pieces, which for different purposes, you can arrange them differently and create different configurations. Then when we were thinking about the lighting for these structures, usually in these gas stations, they're usually terribly lit. People just have blasting lights. They never really think too much about the lighting. And when Claude was working on this, we actually thought at first that we should just do uplighting, from the ground, uplight the underside of this canopy. But Claude had a very different viewpoint. He felt that perhaps the downlights, the 8 downlights that you see in each structure, once it hits the ground, that diffused light from the ground that bounces back onto the underside of the sculpture might be enough. And true enough, after we did the design, that we ended up with a much more soft and even illumination, and there was no strong reflection that came from the structures. So this is another project that's in Singapore. This is the Supreme Court building. This project, we did it in 2000 to 2005. This was when the old Supreme Court building in Singapore was in need of expansion. they didn't have enough spaces for all the courtrooms and all the arbitration rooms. So we were asked, it was a competition that we participated and we won. And the building is very much same principles of how we do a very clear diagram again. So I'll explain this with a section. So what you can see here is the main function of this building is courtrooms and appeals courts. So the most important spaces are actually arranged as two main blocks, with the appeal courts being the most important hierarchy thing that we put right at the top of the building. And then on either side of this building, we have very simple blocks, which are the administration blocks. And in between these blocks is where we get all these atrium spaces, which are all day-lit. So from this photograph, is you're standing in the atrium, in the middle of the building, you can see how the entire space is basically just day lit. So it doesn't really need a lot of artificial lighting for this central space at all. And the disc at the top also allows a certain level of shading for the space below. But what was very important was for us to create this new clear diagram, because this allowed lawyers and judges, when they come into this building, even for the public, in the old building, because it was an old colonial building, it was very, very difficult for people to find where they were supposed to go. But in this new building, you don't even need any signage at all. And basically the two banks of escalators, you know, very instinctively will lead you into all the different courtrooms on either side of the building. So again, you can see this entire diagram flowing from ground floor all the way up into the appeals courts. And on either side is where you see the blocks of courthouses. And what we wanted to do was to highlight the blocks, because they were where the courtrooms are. So we did a lot of wall washing of these blocks. And also we designed all these seating and waiting areas outside each block. So in working with the lighting designer, the key thing was to enhance the walls that were representing the courtrooms itself. And in a way is very visual. And all the entrances to the courtrooms were intentionally kept to be darker slots. So straight away with the contrast, you actually know where the entrances are, and you know where the blocks are, you know where the lifts are. So using lighting, it was in a way our signage for this building. And this is the site atrium spaces. In here, you can see that we were using this kind of marble, which was very translucent. It allowed a lot of daylight to come into this entire space. So in the day, you get this amazing warm glow, and it's very cathedral light. And at night, the same effect goes the other way, and it glows towards the outside at night. So one of the important things in the courtroom design is the lighting within the courtroom. There were very special requirements from the judges and the lawyers themselves. What was very important for a judge was that when there was a proceeding, he had to make sure that he could read the facial expressions of all the witnesses, the prisoners, the lawyers. So when the lighting designers were doing the lighting for the courtrooms, they had to do very, very accurate kind of calculation and angles to make sure that when the lawyer is sitting and when the lawyer is standing, you know, all their faces are clearly illuminated. So the end result was a courtroom that has overall ceiling ambient lighting that was for ambient lighting. And then you can see that in all these areas where there are people, where the lawyers will be sitting, there are very specific task lighting to focus on their faces. And at the back is the public gallery. This one didn't have emphasis on the faces, but instead we only lighted the back wall just to highlight the back of this area. And this is the appeals court right up in the disc. So the entire shape of the courthouse is also reminiscent of the round shape of the disc. And you can see that in this courtroom you get some daylighting coming down from the top. And this entire space is again with a lot of spotlights with very focused task lighting. And at night, the whole point of the lighting scheme was to make the building glow, to create this effect of transparency, because it's again like the Reichstag. It wants to be a democratic kind of symbol that, you know, this place is transparent, is open, that the public can come in, you know, you can see all the things that is happening within this building. So this is the last project that I'm going to talk about. Why I want to talk about Central Markets in Abu Dhabi. This project is to show how Foster's work in line with kind of culture, how we design a building that considers culture as the main point of focus. Because in Abu Dhabi, we were asked to do, this was a very commercial project. The entire podium of this project is a retail mall. It's a 700,000 square meters retail mall. We really didn't want to create a shopping center like any American malls. We wanted to do something that was ingrained to Abu Dhabi, ingrained to the culture of the Middle East, the Arabic culture. So in terms of diagram, you get 3 towers, which are offices and hotels and residentials. And the entire podium block is quite interesting because it consists of 2 parts. It has an old part, which is what we call the souk, and a new part called the new retail mall. There used to be an old souk, an old traditional market on the site that they had to move away, and while the construction was done, but the tenants were allowed to come back into this building. So our first few inspirations was to look at how old traditional souk-like environments were like. In the Middle East, you get a lot of sun, but it is absolutely necessary to provide shading. But in old streets like these, they provide these amazing grillage bamboo sheets-like thing to filter the light into the shopping streets. So Norman, when he saw this picture, he was very much inspired by it. He wanted to create a mall, and he sketched this entire interior space that he imagined it to be of amazing Arabic screens with filtered light coming through. These were one of the renderings that we did when we were designing this space. This is a main courtyard space in this mall. And what is amazing is this is the final product, and it looks exactly like the rendering. We were really happy to achieve the kind of lighting that we imagined to create.
Emily, can you just pause here because I want to speak to the Thai audience. สำหรับบางคนนะคะที่ได้มาฟังเลคเชอร์ของคุณสันพลก่อนหน้านี้แล้วก็มีของคุณโทบี้บางคนอาจจะได้เห็นโปรเจกต์นี้แล้วแต่สำหรับบางคนที่ได้ฟังบ้างไม่ได้ฟังพี่อยากให้ย้อนกลับไปดูYouTube ซึ่งทาง BACC จะโหลดขึ้นไปนะคะเพราะว่าในประเด็นที่เอมิลี่กำลังจะพูดถึงเรื่องของเมื่อกี้ที่บอกว่าเป็นเรนเดอร์ก่อนหน้านั้นแล้วก็กลับมาเป็นที่เป็นภาพจริงเนี่ยพี่ว่ามันมีหลายอย่างที่เป็นเนื้อหาสาระที่คนที่อยู่ในวงการเนี่ยอาจจะอยากศึกษานะคะไม่กระทั่งว่าการที่จะทำให้จากงานดีไซน์ออกมาเป๊ะเลยนะคะในแบบที่เป็นของจริงได้ยังไงก็คือเขามีแม้กระทั่งแบบเครื่องตรวจสอบกล้องที่เป็นเหมือนเราเล่นวิดีโอเกมนะคะที่แบบใส่เข้าไปแล้วก็ดูว่าจากดีไซน์เนี่ยแล้วพอของจริงที่วางไอ้พวกผนังต่างๆเนี่ยเป็นยังไงพี่แกจะให้เรากลับไปได้มีโอกาส study ในส่วนนั้นด้วยนะคะก็จะเป็นคุณค่าสำหรับพวกเราด้วยนะคะที่พลาดไม่ได้ฟังเลคเชอร์ในครั้งก่อน Yes please I just talk about like how Toby and Sanpon have been done in the lecture and then can go back to the YouTube that we upload about the lecture.
Yeah, sorry, it's one of our favorite projects, so we all like to talk about it. So yeah, so this is like on a winter's day. In the Middle East, it's a very interesting climate because during winter is actually quite comfortable. It's like 17 degrees, and that's when you can open up the entire roof to allow daylight and natural ventilation into this space. And then during summer, you can close up the entire roof and air condition this whole space. But what we wanted to do was to always keep some of these daylighting coming through because daylight really is a live thing. It changes with the day, and you can see all these Arabic screens, but the screens themselves has a pattern, but the shadows itself creates another layer of complexity to the space. So this is another angle. So again, this was one of our early days renderings, and this was the final finished product. And it's really important for us that the shopping street is like, it feels like it's an outdoor street, but beautifully sheltered with screens and daylight comes through. And it's important to allow as much daylight as you can into a shopping mall, because nowadays, you know, all these shopping malls that we see in cities, you go in, you have no sense of day and night, you know, you don't know what's going on outside. And we really think that for public buildings and for retail, even commercial buildings like these, if there is the opportunity, we should allow lots of daylight to come into the streets.
Emily, and I also want Louis to add on in terms of the light experts in this case, that yes, we also have a daylight, but how is the artificial lights and other light, you know, do the work in this combination?
Yeah, in this project, this is definitely the importance of daylight because of the location of the project, in how strong there the sun is. And it plays a very important role how we're going to make how we're going to get the impression of it during the complete day. Definitely, you will have in the night, in the retails, you will have artificial lighting, but the experience to the movement of the shadows during the day, because it's not sort of static. The sun is moving continuously. You have continuous different patterns. That makes the whole thing an experience. People are, you know, going there, and every time, every second, it changes. It's moving and moving and moving. In the night, you will have the peaceful, I would say the retail standard illumination, but mostly the highlight is during the day, because you cannot experience that twice. It's fantastic, this kind of experience.
Okay, please. So this is another feature that we created in this shopping mall. So the photograph on the left is again a very traditional, old kind of traditional streets, and then we actually were inspired by the kind of streamlined sun rays that come into this space. And in our project, we created a modernized kind of interpretation of this kind of lighting effect into the streets of the mall. And also here, we were trying to play with different type of lighting effect to the entire space. So also because this project is so huge that it was very important for people to have a sense of orientation when they are in such big spaces. So all these courtyards were orientation focal points, and it was important for us to bring in daylight throughout the entire building and right down into the basement of the over here. So what it does is, if you're in like the basement car parking and you arrive from underground, you will still get a sense of where you are, because we intentionally created colored glass that, you know, when the daylight filters through these colored glass, it allows people to remember the color of the light, that, you know, when they go back into this space, they can find their way again. So I'll end my lecture with this beautiful picture where it really just wants to say how Foster's all these years, how we always like to work with different people. You know, in all our projects are never done by us alone. We work with lighting engineers, we work with consultants, we work with suppliers, contractors to create what we want to create as a building. And I think when we approach any building, we approach it with, we always approach it with a very fresh point of view. And we want to do something that is always unique to each project. So in this project, you know, people will leave this project remembering these colored screens. And you can never find this anywhere. Even the screens, even the Arabic pattern. We found this crazy mathematician in France. You know, he was like a specialist in Arabic pattern. We got him in, and we got him to design this entire customized Arabic pattern for us. So this is the kind of spirit that I hope that, you know, all designers, young and old, should always have. And this is the only way that we can come up with really beautiful, simple but beautiful buildings. Thank you.
Okay. So, also, Emily, from my kind of role of doing the moderate with all the lecture from Foster, one thing that I really impressed about Foster work is that you have a signature in terms of extract the DNA of the place, of the location, and with the humbleness and respect to the context of the country, of the culture, which is very, very unique. And I'm not surprised that why all the work is unique by itself, and also remain the culture from passing through the times, and that is really for me it's just really a kind of like honors to be able to see all this work. However, to do not mention about the light, I mean I have to mention about that because like it is your ending scene is the light is doing the work as a light into the work.
You can see that there was a word that every time came into this project, it was sunlight.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes we forget how powerful sunlight could be.
Good.
And artificial light is going to help us a little bit, but at the end, the architecture is going to be visible during the day. And this is very important that the lighting designers, the architects, make the interpretation how they're going to use it. And I think that Foster's and Partners is one example how well thought the whole thing can be integrated in pure, clean architecture.
Yeah.
And you can see here with this picture is beautiful, but because at the end, you cannot make this artificial.
Yeah.
The only power that you can make it create this effect is the sun.
Yeah.
So we have to be I can give you all the best lighting tools in the world, but there's nothing compared to the sun.
Good.
So you always keep in mind that first think about daylight, and then after that we integrated artificial light where it's needed.
Great.
Nothing
Thank
more.
you, Luis. Thank you very much. And also, I'd like to acknowledge Ergo as a partner of Foster for this exhibition that bring into Bangkok. And what I understand that this exhibition in other country, they have to pay for the entrance. But not really. No, some is free, but some is have to pay for it. No, but I'm talking about like here. That's what I want to acknowledge is that for Thai people, and this is really a kind of like an honors and really a very great opportunity. However, Ergo has really do the work for this exhibition that you can see already if how Louis talking about how light do the work in this exhibition, so you can experience the quality of the light that also enhance the work of the Foster. And as a Thai people, as Thai audience, thank you for you both for coming here. I know that you just take the flight over here, even though we have a kind of like news about Thailand, but do not worry about that.
No,
thank you.
Yeah. I'm not worried at all.
Thank you.
I feel very safe here.
Okay, so I think it's a chance for if anyone wanna have some kind of question or wanna มีใครไหมคะที่อยากจะถามอะไรหรือยังไงไหมคะมีไหมคะ Is anyone wanna ask any question particularly มีไหมคะ Okay, so มีโอเคเชิญเลยค่ะthis gentleman want to know that in terms of your design, is there any kind of like a trick? No, not trick. Sorry, a kind of เคล็ดลับอะไรa special technique or ways of design. Do you have any kind of thing like that in Foster?
I think Foster's,
yeah,
like how we design. I don't know. I think we are just really simple people, Fosters. I think we never complicate things. When we have a brief from a client, we just look at it from very. We try to do the most simple diagram, the most clear diagram to express and to achieve what a client wants. We don't like to do crazy forms. We don't like to do complex forms for the sake of doing it. We always start our design process with, for example, making simple models. We do a lot of model making in the office. We don't draw as much. We always do models. We go to the sketch model shop. We cut up forms. We stack them up. We look at it in real actual space. Because for so many years, we find that is the most effective way to design. nowadays young people like to use 3D softwares. 3D softwares are great. You know, our office use a lot of that to analyze very complex forms. But at the beginning, we always think simple. Just treat a brief very simply and look at what the client really wants and start with a simple diagram. And then once you have a clear, simple diagram, then add the complexity as you go along, and then everything becomes very natural.
ก็อยากจะตอบให้ชัดเจนอีกทีนะคะที่ถามว่ามีเทคนิคอะไรไหมเขาก็คือว่าเขาบอกพวกเขาก็เป็นคนแบบค่อนข้างจะเหมือนกับค่อนข้างจะธรรมดามากๆเลยแล้วก็ในวิธีการออกแบบอะค่ะก็ไปที่ความต้องการของลูกค้าแล้วก็ทำอะไรให้มันเรียบง่ายเข้าไว้เขาบอกว่าเดี๋ยวนี้มันก็มีเทคนิคอะไรมากมายอะนะคะที่จะใช้แม้กระทั่งเรื่องของการทำ 3D แต่เขาก็จะกลับมาที่ออฟฟิศเขาก็จะทำเรื่องของไอ้ตัวโมเดลตัดโฟมตัดกระดาษอย่างเงี้ยค่ะกลับไปที่แบบพื้นฐานปกตินะคะทำให้ได้รูปของการออกแบบแบบพื้นฐานก่อนเสร็จแล้วก็ค่อยเติมไอ้เรื่องราวรายละเอียดอื่นๆเข้าไปนะคะ but also after this gentleman asked so I have one kind of like curious like when you go back to the court in Singapore and I kind of like want to know is that because of the client request you that how the light should be or how the design should be like or how do you work is that come from Forster that you recommend that or how is this kind of thing work?
There's definitely client factors as well. I mean, in any design, there's always client requirements. I mean, in the courthouse, this building has a lot of client requirements. It's a very complex building actually, because the running of a court case, you know, the entire courtroom design, we actually built a one-to-one mock-up of the entire courtroom when we were looking at the design, because the users needed to test, you know, everything, and they had to make sure it really works. So there were one-to-one mock-ups. So the client was amazing because they really supported the designers to go through this whole process, to do one-to-one mock-ups, to test out visuals, you know, sight lines, lighting effect. We even did a one-to-one scale lighting mock-up. So it was a very amazing process because not a lot of clients see the importance of that. But then other than the clients, of course, there's always the designer's point of view. I mean, in terms of the overall lighting concept, that comes from the designers. But that is with the understanding of what the building is about to start with. And then the lighting concept is built on the architectural concept.
Got that. Thank you. ก็สิ่งที่พี่ถามว่าพี่ก็สงสัยอะค่ะเหมือนไอ้ตัวไอ้อะไรนะคะไอ้สารน่ะนะคะว่าเอ๊ะตกลงมันมาจากใครมาจากลูกค้าเป็นคนแบบเรียกร้องหรือว่าคุณต้องแบบจัดไฟแบบนี้ทำแบบนั้นให้ฉันได้หรือว่ามันมีวิธีการทำงานยังไงว่ามันมาจากดีไซเนอร์หรือเปล่าเอมิลี่ก็เลยบอกว่าจริงๆมันก็มาจากลูกค้าเป็นหลักก่อนว่าเขาต้องการอะไรแต่ในเวลาเดียวกันเนี่ยการที่ได้ลูกค้าที่ให้รายละเอียดและทำงานเหมือนเป็นทีมงานร่วมกับพวกเขาก็คือทำให้เขาได้มีโอกาสทำแบบห้องจำลองทำการจัดไฟจำลองมันก็เลยทำให้ผลงานของเขาออกมาโดดเด่นแล้วก็ดูว่าเป็นการตอบโจทย์ทั้งงานดีไซน์หมายถึงทางด้านสถาปัตยกรรมแล้วก็ตอบโจทย์ทางด้านลูกค้าด้วยพี่ว่าอันนี้อาจจะเป็นอันนึงที่เป็นหัวใจของการทำงานของ Foster นะคะที่ได้ทั้งลูกค้าที่เป็นพาร์ทเนอร์ด้วยในการทำงานแล้วตัวพวกเขาเองด้วยก็คิดหนักคิดเยอะคิดให้ละเอียดอะไรแบบนั้นค่ะถ้างั้นมีใครไหมคะที่อยากจะถามคำถามถ้างั้นพี่จะได้เชิญค่ะถ้าไม่มีปิ๊กจะให้อันนี้เป็นคำถามสุดท้ายนะคะโอเคค่ะจะถามอะไรคะโอเคเรื่องฟงจุ้ยใช่ไหมso because Asian we are concerned about feng shui and you come from China you know so how you deal with that that's this lady
we dealt with feng shui 30 years ago in HSBC the entire building is about feng shui yes we Fosters do feng shui yes
so okay got it
date of the draft.
Okay, so Louis, so how about your lighting? Is it also related to the feng shui as well?
We definitely something that personally I believe.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think there is some waves in the space, and we have to respect them.
Yes.
Lighting, I think that depends on the lighting designer. So I said my job is to support the lighting designer, support the architect, and support the architecture. Sometimes we have to follow that. Yes.
Yeah.
We have to do that.
Yeah. Okay. ค่ะมีอะไรไหมคะถ้าไม่งั้นก็ขอบคุณนะคะ Thank you for both of us and thank you for everyone to come here.